Welcome back to the Nightlife Podcast, Season 2, Episode 24. And I am here today from Peche in La Centrale, Brickell City Center. One more time. And today I have the pleasure of interviewing my good friend, Ani Phearce. How are you, my friend?
How you doing, man? Nice
Good, man. Good.
Good to see you still killing it in Miami.
Good, thank you. So let me tell you guys a little bit. No, you know what? You talk about yourself. You tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do in the industry.
Got it. Well, I'm originally from New York. I moved to Miami in 2002. I left New York right after 9/11, which 9/11 was it changed the city. You know, it changed the mood. Everything about New York changed, and I was DJing at the time a party on Thursdays called Subliminal Sessions, because I used to run Subliminal Sessions with Eric Murillo.
Eric Murillo. Okay.
He's the guy that did I Like to Move It, Move It.
Of course.
And so our
Colombian
party,
DJ.
Yeah, he's Colombian. So we basically went from like 1,000 people a week to like 200, because half of Manhattan was closed because of 9/11.
Right.
Everybody wanted to party.
How long had you been DJing by that time already?
Oh my God. I mean, I started a long time ago, so I was already like probably 25 years in DJing, 25 years in. Yeah, I started very young. I started like around 11 or 12 maybe. So I'm almost 100 now. So if you do the math,
Wow.
it's about, so
if you're in your 20s, you're late, man. Get to it.
Yeah, no. So I decided to leave New York, and I came to Miami in 2002. And within the first year, I was already DJing at Crowbar. I was DJing for Backdoor Bambi Mondays, and I was the resident DJ also Saturdays.
So if you guys are from Miami, and if you are, depending on how old you are, of course.
Right.
But if you are in the industry, you would know 100%, not just about Crowbar, but Backdoor Bambi as one of the it's like saying Studio 54 at some point in New York. If you want to level.
Yes.
Which you have probably some Studio 54 stories also.
Yes, I spent many nights there, Backdoor Bambi was good because, it was a party that was almost ahead of its time in terms of how open it was, how free. There's a great documentary on YouTube about Backdoor Bambi that, especially if you're young and getting into the business, that's a good thing to watch just so you could see how people used to party.
Right.
Because the way people party now is very different from the way people partied when we were younger, let's say.
Can you tell people a little bit about where that name comes from? What the whole Backdoor Bambi was about?
Backdoor Bambi was a character that an artist created, Attila. And, he created this character through art, and then the character took form in the form of a party. Okay. And with promoters and people behind it, and it just basically took on a life of itself, where it became like a thing to do on Monday, and it was crazy. It was weird because
that's the craziest part.
It was on a night that no one ever imagined going out. But
it's a Monday night at a huge nightclub, but you would go in through the back door also.
That's right, on the back door. Right? So it all tied in together,
right.
And then kind of like the sexiness, the opening was open for straight people, for gay people,
right,
for whoever. So it, everything just, the characters, the promoter, the girl that looked like Bambi, the art figure,
right?
Everything just came together, right. And a group of people came together and made Bambi come to life,
right?
And then on top of that, you had a great venue, which was Crowbar,
right?
And you just one thing after another,
which is still there.
It's called Cameo Theater. It was Cameo Theater. Then they opened this Crowbar, and then they reopened it as Cameo because it's part of like the Art Deco,
correct?
Scene in South Beach, but it's not Cameo Theater, and South Beach for that matter is not what it used to be,
right? All right, so you've been DJing how long now?
I would say 35 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. I remember.
Most of you are not that old yet.
No. I started buying records in 76, 77.
Okay, so we're gonna get a little deeper into. That's what I want to talk to you about. Because I don't understand it 100%. The music business and how it ties up to the nightlife. What would you call yourself? A DJ producer? What's the title, pretty much?
I started as a DJ, and then after I graduated college, I went into the music business side of the music industry.
Okay.
And I was managing this group called Real to Real. They produced this track called I Like to Move It, which is a multi-million-dollar selling record. And so I was managing them, doing their bookings. I handled their fan club, their marketing, their, everything in terms of management. And then from there, when they recorded their second album, they hired a management company in the UK. So I went to work for the record label. And working at Strictly Rhythm, which they were signed to, I went into music publishing, music licensing, and international affairs. So whenever the record label signed a track, they would give it to me, and I would contact different record labels throughout the entire world to get licensing deals, to give them permission to release a track in England and Germany and France, and I was the guy that they would contact for that.
Right.
And
does it work that way still?
Yes.
Okay. So I know in my line of the business, everything has changed since the arrival of digital.
Correct.
And social media and
Right.
all these things. What's the difference or the biggest difference in that?
The biggest change has been the physical aspect of it. Where back then, you produced a track and there was a physical. It existed in physical form, whether it was an album,
Right.
a 12-inch, a CD, something that was tangible that you could hold in your hand, and there was a connection between you and the artist. It had a feel to it. I had the liner notes. You could read who the writer, the publisher, you created your own artwork and look to it. All of those things
Can you still get physical stuff, by the way?
you still can, but now it's a digital age. It's all
Right. Like,
Apple
why would
Music,
you?
iTunes.
I have a collection of DVDs at home, and
Exactly.
they're in a box in the garage now.
Exactly. So that's the biggest change, that it's gone from a physical unit, selling units,
Right.
obviously making more money, to now it's all more digital. And so since the artist isn't making as much money from the sale of music, that's where the branding, the licensing comes in, where you're doing commercials,
Right.
you're getting sponsored by a clothing store or whatnot. So there are guys like Snoop or Dr. Dre that in the past they never would sell out, quote unquote, and do a commercial. Now those guys are doing everything that they can to supplement the money that they're not making from selling actual CDs,
Right.
and albums. So that's been like the biggest change. Like for me as an artist, I have my own record label and I produce as well. The last record I released was in vinyl. And I made a lot of money selling vinyl and licensing it. Now it would be all digital, so the money's not really there. So then I would have to make the money by getting DJ bookings and
Right.
and doing shows.
The music that you play when you get booked, is it completely different from what you produce usually? Like,
No, because I'm originally a house guy. So when I was getting booked, when I would travel to Europe, it was purely house. I produce house, I play house.
right.
Now, with the advent of reggaeton and the Latin explosion and hip hop, taking over as well, if I'm getting booked at a house party, yeah, I'll be the house guy. But if I'm doing like open format, which basically almost every party has gone open
Right.
format, I have the ability to do an open format,
Right.
because that's what I do, weekly.
But is it different? Meaning,
But what I produce, Latin house, let's say.
Right.
House music and, with Latin flavors and Latin rhythms to it. So, I play similar to what I produce, yes.
right. Now, did you at any point in time have to change the way you played or the music that you were playing?
Absolutely.
What drove you to that? What was the main reason?
I mean, at the end of the day, it's whether you want to stay relevant, stay in the market, because there are a lot of guys that were DJing 10 years ago when I got to South Beach that aren't DJing regularly anymore,
Right.
because they never wanted to adapt. So where I was, one of the guys that went from house to open format, a lot of those guys used to look at me and make fun of me and like, oh, you're selling out, you're cheesy, you're playing all this radio music. But here I am.
I'm playing.
But I'm playing, and at the end of the day, I always tell people, FPL don't care if you're playing hip-hop or reggaeton or house.
Right.
They want that bill paid.
Right.
And I was starting to get offered these parties to do open format, I have a good ear and I have, an extensive knowledge of music. So for me to transition from one genre to an next, it's not difficult for me.
Right.
Because from working in the business and cultivating a good ear and what's good, and that's I have that
the fact that you start playing more, I don't know if it's commercial or what people want to hear.
Right.
I guess that's commercial.
Right.
The other DJs that produced with you or that you knew, or did they see that as a sellout move?
Some did, because again, house music producers, a lot of them are very purist and very
Right.
Loyal to the sound and to the brand, and but and then there are the local guys that just want to be cool, and it's cool to be a house head.
Correct.
So some of them, yeah, they would look at me and frown and be like, oh, you're not, you're selling out. But at the end of the day, it's all about when you have a house and you got a mortgage and you got bills to pay, you got to do what you got to do. And as long as I was able to, I've managed to adapt, but keep some of my identity, which I've really been conscious of that.
Right.
So while I'm playing this commercial music, there's still an identifiable sound that's unique to me and to my taste in music.
Now, if you want to be a long-term DJ, because I know, and I had a talk with Willie also, whom you know,
another great DJ veteran that's had to adapt, and
exactly,
he gets it.
And that's one of the things. Like, how much of it? Now talking a little business, how much of it is it the regular playing, and how much of it is it the producing part? I mean, does the money come mainly when you want to dedicate a long-term, career?
Well, okay, I'll give you an example. Oscar G. Back in the day, guys like Oscar that produced and DJ, you could make a living producing because the money selling music was high.
Right.
So although Oscar was a DJ, he could also produce and make a good living producing. With the change, when everything going digital and you're making less from producing, you have to transition more to the DJ side. So even though you're still producing music, the bulk of your income is going to come from DJing. Right. And the style in which you produce in many ways affects your DJing as well, because you want to kind of like DJ what you like to produce, because that's your taste, your musical taste.
Can a DJ pretty much play all kinds of music? Meaning, can they be good at just playing anything, or should they be concentrated on one type of music or style?
I mean, I consider myself a good DJ in terms of house, but if I need to do a reggaeton set, a hip hop set, I may not be technically like scratching and going back and forth and all that,
right.
But I have a good enough ear to program the music right. And
right.
I think the new generation, they lack the programming aspect, where in terms of like there's a start of the night, there's a middle of the night, there's people dancing, there's people drinking, there's people taking a break, going to the bathroom, there's you raising the energy level up and down.
Right.
All of that is music programming.
Right.
A lot of the new guys don't have that. Where the older guys, I've had it, in New York, I was doing 7-8 hour DJ sets. So
right.
You had to learn how to program one way or another. A lot of the guys now, they're DJing 1 or 2 hours. So in
right.
terms of like, I think that's one of the biggest problems promoters now face in Miami. Finding guys that could program music
right.
from 10 o'clock to 5 in the morning.
Right.
I went out the other day to a party, and it's 11 o'clock and the guy's already playing hits, and I'm telling my friend this party's gonna die out by 12,
right,
12:20.
You run out of hits.
And my friend says to me, the music's changing, and I'm like, I told you he was gonna run out of music, because he was just slamming the hits back to back to back. So it was 12 o'clock and he was already playing this, all this music that you could tell he had run out of good music.
Correct.
He lacked the programming to space it throughout the course of the night.
Right.
What
kind of things do you guys do? Because I've also talked to Willie about this. I've just never figured out how he does it. But what kind of thing could you do to, for example, hey, people aren't drinking, I need to drive them to the bar. Like, what are the moves you guys do? Like, if to be able to move the people around, like, okay, I want them on the dance floor. I need them at the bar. I need them,
Right.
How do you?
Okay, so, you see it in terms of like, you have an arsenal of music. So you want to keep people interested in there, but you also want them to go and consume.
Okay.
So you want to put them in a state of mind where they're still having fun, but it's okay to step off the dance floor and go get a drink.
Right.
Because I'm having so much fun, I'm thirsty, I want to drink, I want to continue the buzz. So you'll play music that enables them to go to the bar where they're not, and still be into the music, and so they don't feel like they're missing out.
So with a sexual analogy, it's a little bit like foreplay, kind of.
Exactly.
You don't want to go.
You have to.
You don't want to make them come too soon.
Exactly. Guy, that guy shot his load. That was the exact analogy that I told my friend. You see that guy? He just shot his load.
Right.
And now it's 12 o'clock. The night is just starting, and he has no juice in the tank because he shot his load.
Right.
You
told me earlier, actually, that one of the compliments you've heard the most has been related to that.
The number one thing I always hear is guys come up to me and say, I'm getting laid tonight because of you, because of your music.
Right.
And that's like, I pride myself in playing music that's kind of like, very sexy, sexy beats. Sexy beats is very sexualized.
Yeah. So a lot of people say that that nightlife is dying. And I feel like it's more evolving than dying.
Evolving, correct.
But the evolution of the nightlife, I hate to say that it's not good.
Mm-hmm.
It's just different.
It's different.
And it's difficult coming from the days that we came.
That's right.
The things we've seen, the places we've been.
What we've lived through.
The parties
we survived.
Exactly. and seeing now what a party is today, and how different it just feels.
Correct.
Somehow, like hearing you talk about the music part makes me realize that that's one of the important factors of the whole change and evolution.
Correct.
I just remember that the music that we would play at the parties, for example. I remember the night would start and like 5-6 different guys would arrive at the beginning of the night and go find Willie wherever he was and bring him, music. Right. Hey, I need you to play this. And nobody had heard those songs before, but we played them anyway, and everybody was just like, so I like that. I want to hear new stuff.
Right.
It wasn't like I need to hear the 40 songs that are on the radio, the ones in Colombia, the ones in Venezuela, the ones that's it. It just. It's weird. Like,
let me give you an example. When I used to go travel in Europe, right before I would leave, I would open my record crate and I would pick all the white labels. That's what they call them. Promos that aren't out yet, that they only had a white label. So when I would go to Europe, people were only expecting me to play music that they never heard before.
Right.
So I'm playing 3-4 hours and I'm playing all new stuff, and they're having the time of their life. Right. If I played 2 records right now, today, that they've never heard before, I'm losing half the room.
God. Well, you get fired.
You get fired.
It's like literally. Because management won't understand it either.
Right.
And whoever the promoters are, they're probably not for it. Like I'm always pushing for new music,
right.
and I love when I hear something. I'm like, I don't know what that is. Like, who is that?
That's right. That's right. Because we're able to contrast these times with another time.
Right.
Where this generation, these kids, they don't have nothing to contrast with. This is all they know.
Right. So should we pass the page, or should we figure out a way to not fix them, but kind of, like one of the reasons I wrote the book, which I did not talk about, by the way, one of the reasons I wrote the book, just talking about the promotion side of it, was kind of to, besides leaving a legacy or whatever, it was just bringing back some of the things that we used to do then, and
having a record that exists, so
exactly.
people could see years later,
and allowing the new upcoming, the new promoters, everybody that's in the business, realize, we could do that, or they used to do that, and it worked, and whatever. And because
there's a record of it that exists in physical copy.
Exactly. Like right now, like everybody that's promoting nowadays, like all they're concerned about is
Social
how many
media.
likes they got on their flyer, and you know, and how many people shared it or commented in it or
That's
whatever,
right.
or if they get somebody else to post it, or you know, if somebody mentions their event or whatever, it's all social media based.
All social
like
media.
nobody's having that offline, you know, conversation with somebody, and I just, you know,
I
it
think
sucks.
testimony to the fact that you've been doing this as long as you have is based upon the relationships that you were able to build throughout the years.
Right.
And you would not be able to build those relationships through social media alone.
Right.
It was through physical contact, calling somebody, shaking their hand, hugging them hello, seeing them out. Where now everything is done through social media, they're not able to establish those long-term relationships with people. So it's like, you know, they're fixated on something that's very intangible, like a like, where we were building relationships. I launched a party last year in Brickell. It was the first, like, you know, weekly gay party in Brickell. And I was posting online on Instagram, on Facebook, but I was also going through all City Center, Brickell, the Gables, Miami, store to store with flyers, handing them out, inviting people out, making calls, you know, sending texts. You know, there was still that aspect of it which is now considered old school, as opposed to just posting a flyer on Instagram or Facebook.
Right.
And you know, that's great, but that can't be your sole means of promotion.
Right.
You know, you know the value of everything I just mentioned.
Oh yes.
Where, you know, so I think part of our job as, you know, veterans, let's say, is explaining to the younger generation that there's it's great what you're doing, but there's also this other way that allows you to have more success.
Correct.
And build a bigger base.
Right.
And, you know,
one does not replace the other.
Exactly. We're just embellishing. We're adding to the pot.
Correct.
You're adding a different way of doing business.
Right.
You know.
So we just had by the way, we just had a meeting right before this. You know, killing two birds with one stone, and we were meeting about starting a new party, and we're gonna start a new party, most likely very close to here, and and one of the things that has also changed is that a lot of people like to party during the day. So we're talking about a brunch. We're talking about starting this brunch very soon. How do you think that we can apply, you know, some of those things to the brunch? Like, what kind of things you think we should be doing at that brunch? I think make it different.
For the brunch to be successful, we obviously have to reach out to our base, which is, you know, people that we've known through, you know, the course of like the last 20 years, because that base are the people that are gonna most appreciate what we're doing in terms of a day event that's not you know, that doesn't involve a nightclub, you know, a smoky room, a loud sound system. You know, you're talking about an event that you could come. If you even have kids, you could bring your kids.
Right.
You know, you could come with your girlfriend or your wife, sit down. You could have dinner. You could have drinks, and, you know, take in some music. So in terms of, like, you know, people that we know and what we're good at, reaching out to those people is part of what would make it successful.
Right. Do you think the music needs to be different to keep that crowd happy?
I think the music has to complement the vibe and that we're creating in the area in the room that we're in.
Right.
You know, so in a room like, you know, a restaurant where you're doing a brunch, you know, you're not in a dark, you know, warehouse with light show and fog and all that. So, you know, the music has to be different. And I think a lot of DJs can pinpoint the difference.
Right.
They DJ one way and they don't necessarily adapt to the environment. Right. You know. So
chapter 8 of the book says it's all about the show.
That's right.
Know? And one of the main things in this show is the music. You know, like I always said, Willie's worked with us for 25 years. You know, and I always say it's been 25 years, but he's our secret weapon.
That's right.
It's not so secret. Right. You know, but the reality is that, like, we felt it. As a matter of fact, we spoke a little bit about that earlier, like when we came into Blue Martini back then and 10 years ago, and we had to bring him in because he knew exactly how to cater to that niche.
And I recognize that.
Correct.
I didn't take it personal. Like,
right.
When you guys launched that Latin party, I was the original DJ.
Right.
And I knew that I had wore my welcome thin because I knew that he was the guy that was able to take the party to the next level.
That, exactly.
Because he knew exactly what that needed.
Exactly.
He was very good at it, and he still is.
Right. So 100% for this event, we have to focus 100% on the right music, happy music.
That's right. So, happy, sexy, nothing over the top, nothing abrasive. It has to complement, what is a brunch, which is, food, drinks, live entertainment, everything coming together.
And last question before we go, because we're running out of time. So when you plan a party, music-wise, do you say beforehand, so this is what I'm going to be playing, or depending on the crowd, you change the music?
If anybody's ever gonna hear me DJ and hang out with me, they realize that I don't decide what I'm gonna play till literally there's like maybe 10 or 15 seconds left of a song, and usually they're panicking, going on, and the record's gonna finish. I'm so in tune into the energy and the vibe of the room that I'm making these decisions moment to moment.
Right.
So based on what the energy in the room is and what the crowd is giving me, and then what direction I want to take them, that's when I make the decision. I'm not making a playlist at home going, these are the 10 songs I'm going to play at.
Right.
So if I see a certain group of people walk into the room that are a certain demographic, that I need to keep them there because they're spending money, I'll cater to them. And then if I see another group that's getting ready to leave and I don't want them to leave, I'll play something to keep them there.
It's about keeping the highest percentage of people happy as you can.
Exactly. And trying to maximize the money that they spend. So everybody that comes in through the door, I need to maximize how many dollars they're going to spend while they're there and keep them there as long as possible.
And what's the worst thing that's ever happened to you as a DJ?
Wow. I mean, if I were to ever write a book, the stories that book would have would be movie worthy. I've had issues with other DJs, wanting to, just be immature about, what time they go on, what time they go off. I never had anything, aside from like stopping the wrong track while it's playing. That happened to me once at Ministry of Sound. I lifted the needle on the track that was actually playing at the time, and that's like
with a full dance floor.
And that sound, they have bass cabinets that are the size of this couch. So when I lifted the needle up, the room literally shook when I put the needle back down, and I started laughing because there's nothing else you could do, But in terms of like bad experience, I've had more good than bad. Getting drunk and playing a record 4 or 5 times and then finding out the next day you played this song 4 times in a row, Ani, and you're just so drunk.
It's all about those memories.
Yeah, those
don't recommend memories. Drinking while playing unless
excessive drinking.
Excessive, exactly. All right, so where can people find you, man?
I'm on Facebook at Facebook /Ani Phearce. I'm on Instagram. Same thing, just look up my name, Ani Phearce, ANIPHEARCE. And I just got back on social media. I was away for 7 years. Doing other things. And I DJ every Saturday at Blue Martini in Kendall. And the rest of the week I'm doing guest spots, throughout, Florida. So if they follow me, I usually post a flyer or something on where they can find me. So.
And very soon we'll be starting a new party over here, so that's awesome on Sundays. So you can find me as the Nightlife Entrepreneur on Instagram. You can find the book on Amazon, The Nightlife Entrepreneur, and the podcast, all the episodes. You can find them on YouTube, on iTunes, on Podomatic, Spotify, and on our website, nightlifepodcast.com. So see you guys next week.
Thank you for having me.
Good.